Hi everyone. In our previous video, we discussed about the key features of federalism. In this video, we will discuss how is federalism practiced, language policy of India, and the decentralization. Success of federalism in India is not merely because of the constitutional provisions. The real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of democratic politics in our country. This is the map of India at the time of independence. You can see it's completely different from the present. How was the reorganization done? The creation of linguistic states was the first and major test for democratic politics in our country. After independence in 1947, some national leaders felt that carving out states on the basis of language might lead to disruption and disintegration. The central government resisted linguistic states for some time. Soon, Telugu speaking people started demands for a separate state. Andhra Pradesh became the first linguistic state of India, a state formed on the basis of language. But the experience shows that the formation of linguistic states has actually made the country more united. Government appointed States Reorganization Commission to redraw the boundaries of the states after the formation of Andhra Pradesh, which led to the creation of 14 states and 6 union territories. The commission in its report accepted that boundaries of the states should reflect boundaries of different languages. Many more other states were formed since then, and currently we have 28 states and 9 union territories. A second test for Indian Federation was the language policy. In India, there was no national language. Hindi was identified as the official language. States had their own official language. Besides Hindi, there were 21 other languages recognized as scheduled languages by the Constitution. Problems faced in making language policy. Hindi was the mother tongue of only about 40% of Indians. According to the Constitution, use of English for official purpose was to stop in 1965. Many non-Hindi speaking states demanded that the use of English continue. After violent protests in Tamil Nadu, the central government agreed to continue the use of English along with Hindi for official purpose. Center-state relations. For a long time, same party ruled both center and most of the states. This means that the state governments did not exercise their rights as autonomous federal units. When center and state governments were formed by different political parties, center tried to undermine the powers of states. Central government would often misuse the constitution to dismiss the state governments that were controlled by rival parties. In some cases, state governments were dismissed even when they had a majority in the legislature, as had happened in Kerala in 1959, or without testing their majority as happened in several other states after 1967. All this changed after 1990. This period saw the rise of regional parties in many states. At this time, no single party secured enough majority to form the government at the center. National parties like Janata Dal made coalitions with regional parties to form the government. This was also the beginning of the era of coalition governments. Decentralization in India. When the power is taken away from central and state governments and given to local governments, it is called decentralization. A major step towards decentralization was taken in 1992. The constitution was amended to make the third tier of democracy more powerful and effective. Two constitutional amendments, 73rd and 74th, were passed by the parliament. The 73rd amendment is about rural local governments, which are also known as Panchayati Raj institutions. And the 74th Amendment made provisions relating to urban local governments or Nagarpalikas. They came into force in 1993. Let us have a look at the changes brought by these amendments. Before and after amendments. Earlier, there were only two tiers of governments in India. Panchayat and municipalities were directly under control of state governments. Elections were not held regularly. Local governments did not have any powers or resources of their own. Regular elections are mandatory. Seats are reserved, and the elected bodies and the executive heads of these institutions were the SC, ST, and OBC. At least one third of all positions are reserved for women. An independent institution called State Election Commission has been created in each state to conduct elections. State governments are required to share some powers and resources. Members of Panchayat are directly elected by the Gram Sabha.